Good morning, America, and welcome to the 1950s News Hour, brought to you live during the heart of the Cold War. I'm Suba.
And I'm Catherine. Today we bring you the latest development in a world divided by communism and democracy. A war on edge as tensions continue to rise between the United States and the Soviet Union. The nation stand at the crossroads of a new conflict with the United States involvement in the Korean War.
We have updates on the global struggle for influence, the battle for Berlin, and America's response to Soviet expansion. But first, let's take a look at how it all started. Following the end of World War II in 1945, Europe was left in ruins and the world was left divided between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Both nations were emerging as dominant world powers, but their ideological differences set the stage for the Cold War. The US, championing democracy and capitalism, sought to spread its influence, while the Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, promoted communism and a one-party state. As both superpowers competed for dominance, tensions began to rise, and the world watched anxiously.
The Yalta Conference, held in February 1945, set the stage for the Cold War. The leaders of the US, Britain, and the Soviet Union, although appearing cooperative, secretly laid groundwork for the rivalry that would shape the coming decades. The West did not trust Stalin's aggressive tactics, and the division of Germany into occupied zone, including Berlin, became a focal point for the brewing conflict. As the Cold War raged on, President Truman's doctrine of containment remains our guiding policy. The United States will continue to support free nations resisting communist aggression, whether in Europe, Asia, or beyond. Truman firmly believed that the spread of communism must be stopped, and the free world future depends on containing this ideology. He was committed to ensuring that no nation would fall to the communist tide, especially after seeing the rise of communist government in Eastern Europe under Soviet influence and the threat it posed to democracy.
The Truman Doctrine, announced in 1947, was a direct response to the spread of communism in Greece and Turkey, where local communist insurgencies were receiving support from the Soviet Union. The United States pledged to prove military and economic assistance to these nations, effectively marking the beginning of America's global interventionism. The doctrine soon became the cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy, signaling that America would no longer stand by and watch communist ideology spread unchecked.
Another helpful development is the Marshall Plan, named after Secretary of State George Marshall, which continues to be a resounding success. Through the Marshall Plan, America sent vital economic aid, supplies, and investment to rebuild Europe's devastated infrastructure, industry, and agriculture. Over 12 billion, or roughly 100 billion today money, were funneled into Europe. This initiative helped establish strong trade relationship which solidify American standing as a global leader in the post-war order. Countries that received aid were not only restored economically, but also politically. Communist parties in Western Europe found it much harder to gain a foothold. Marshall was recently given the Nobel Peace Prize this year.
That's right. He was given a Peace Prize this year, October 30th, 1953, but unfortunately he was bedridden with the flu during the announcement. And we cannot forget the heroic effects of the Berlin airlift, which saw American and British pilots flying supplies to West Berlin when the Soviet Union attempted to blockade the city in 1948. For over a year, they kept the people of Berlin alive and defied Soviet aggression. The Soviet Union had hoped to starve out the western sector of Berlin, which was under the control of the Allies. But the United States and Great Britain responded with a massive airlift, flying in food, coal, and medicine around the clock to sustain the citizens of West Berlin.
This event not only showcased the determination and ingenuity of the Western Allies, but also served as a powerful symbol of their commitment to defending freedom in Europe. The Berlin airlift was a resounding victory for the West, as it demonstrated to the world that Soviet attempts to intimidate and isolate democracies would not go unanswered. The United States was able to keep Berlin supplied until the Soviet force released the blockade in 1949.
In 1950, the U.S. took a bold step in reaffirming its commitment to containing Soviet expansion with the implementation of NSC 68, a National Security Council document that would guide American foreign policy throughout the Cold War. The report called for massive increases in military spending to counter the Soviet threat and marked a shift toward a more aggressive stance in containing communism.
NSC-68 also called for the build-up of the U.S. nuclear arsenal and for alliance that counter Soviet influence. With the Korean War already underway, it became clear that America would not only defend Europe but also extend its reach into Asia and beyond. The policy laid the foundation for the Cold War arms race and ensured that the United States would confront the Soviet Union at every turn.
Wait a minute. Can we zoom in to the top of that document?
Sure.
Uh-oh. Moving on, at the same time, the World Peace Council emerged as a counterpoint to the growing militarization. Formed in 1950 by the Soviet Union and other communist bloc nations, it called for global peace and the elimination of nuclear weapons. But as the United States and its allies saw it, the Council was little more than a propaganda tool for Soviet communism, designed to advance the USSR's global agenda while masking the dangers of its own authoritarian regime.
As the war watched, nations like France, the UK, and the US aligned themselves with anti-communist causes, while the Soviets rallied their ally under the banner of the World Peace Council. With Korea divided and Communist China backing North Korea, it was clear that the ideological battle would extend far beyond Europe.
The main cause for concern during this Cold War is the constant threat of nuclear warfare. As the United States and the Soviet Union continue to grapple for global influence, both powers have rapidly expanded their nuclear arsenals. The atomic bomb remains a powerful symbol of Cold War tensions, and fears of a nuclear war hang over us like a dark cloud. The sheer destructive power of these weapons has left the world in a constant state of anxiety.
In 1949, the Soviets shocked the world by testing their own atomic bomb, and now both sides raced to develop even more powerful hydrogen bombs. The fear of total annihilation is a constant threat as we enter the atomic age. Both nations stand on the precipice of a new kind of warfare, one where the states are global, and the consequence of any conflict will be irreversible.
So as we close today's broadcast with men standing at crossroads, the Cold War continues with no end in sight. The struggle for freedom and democracy against the threat of communist expansion is far from over. The balance of power between the United States and the Soviet Union may shift, but the underlying conflict is clear.
Stay tuned as we continue to bring you updates from online, both abroad and at home. And remember, America stands firm in the face of any challenge. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and God bless America.